I thought all the scary, spooky jungle changes were supposed to end with fiddlesticks. What's up, Summoners? My name is Dan, and I'm here today with another ProGuides video. Once again, we're providing you with another meta update going into patch 10.8. Just like last time, we're going to update you on the trends you guys need to know about. The decisions you make during champion select and the ways you optimize your champion are just as important as how well you play mechanically or in a macro play sense as well. For our question of the day, what ability needs to be removed from the game? I'd like to see Yasuo's Wind Wall taken out. It's just way too powerful. While it's cool to have an answer to ranged champions and certain ranged abilities, completely nullifying them with no reasonable counterplay makes things quite frustrating. At least with Morgana's Black Shield, for example, you can use magic damage to break it before throwing out some form of crowd control. Let me know your answers in the comments below. Alright, with that all said, let's jump into the video. Alright, as always, let's run it down from the top. Blade of the Ruined King is a really strong item. I promise you, especially on melee champions, this item is absolutely monstrous. It received a buff back in patch 10.5, and its effects have been slowly trickling throughout games of all elos. Currently, melee champions deal 12% of their target's current health as bonus damage. When they're healthy, let's throw some arbitrary number out there like 1000, that's 120 extra damage. Even when you're trying to tag them with that one last attack for a last hit, you'll always gain a minimum of 15 bonus damage. This item has some insane value, and although it isn't gold efficient without its passives and active, it's still a worthwhile purchase. No questions asked. Blade of the Ruined King is gold efficient for melee champions anytime their target is above 275 health. You don't have to play much League to know that's pretty much 90% of the time. I especially recommend you pick up champions that can abuse this item. It's absolutely broken. We're talking about those big hitters, the 1v9 kings and queens like Aurelia, Set, Jax, Renekton, and many more. This item gives aggressive champions even more kill pressure than they already have, giving them opportunities to snowball and hard carry games. If you thought giving up one kill early was bad enough, it's even worse when they can steal movement speed with Blade of the Ruined King and mow you down the lane. Speaking of chasing enemies, the next big thing is Phase Rush in the top lane as well. We saw those buffs hit Summoner's Rift on patch 10.7, and it's been looking promising. Of course, we still have the typical ranged champions still using it like Vladimir and Ryze, but melee champions have jumped onto the hype train as well, following their exclusive rights to some buffs this patch. It's a great flex rune based on matchup for certain champions who already possess an insane amount of damage, like Darius, Set, and Jace. In most cases, champions gifted with mobility are ones that are typically a little more fragile, so you're able to give up some damage in return for Phase Rush's incredible burst of movement speed so you can chase them down. Alternatively, it's also useful for hit-and-run playstyles when you want to go for a quick bursty trade and then back off. I imagine that Riven players are finding matchups to optimize this rune in as well, similarly to how they used Storm Rager's Surge many seasons ago. We've been hyping this item up a lot, and it still hasn't seen any nerfs. Therefore, we need to tell you guys again that Death's Dance is absolutely broken. Personally, I've seen way too many Wukongs building it and suddenly becoming unkillable gods on Summoner's Rift. This item is becoming more and more popular, so if you're still sticking with your old cookie-cutter build, you might want to see if Death's Dance can fit somewhere in your build now. In response to this, we're also seeing a lot more healing reduction being built in the top lane. Executioner's Calling is an easy item for most top laners to build. With its low price point, it's quite easy for top laners to justify this purchase. They could have a Kindle gem, for example, or they could have the healing reduction from Executioners instead. The item builds out of a longsword, so it's a reliable purchase in more ways than one. Since Death's Dance, Conquer, and even early Bilgewater cutlasses are so common in the top lane, the appropriate response is to build Healing Reduction. Healing Reduction provides the most laning phase value to top laners in general because of how much sustain is currently present up there. Of course, exceptions exist, like Vladimir mid or Soraka support, but we're talking about general trends here. Alright, let's talk about the jungle next. The terrifying shenanigans were supposed to end with fiddlesticks, but they haven't. Unconventional junglers might be able to find their footing next patch with the next set of jungle changes coming up. By the way, if you don't know about them, check out our upcoming changes video, which talks about all of this stuff. Essentially, junglers are going to be a lot healthier than before, meaning they can be less afraid to experiment with crazy unorthodox picks. Jungle invades are a lot easier to pull off when your enemies are low, so now that all junglers have some more access to sustain, walking into enemy territory is going to be even more dangerous than before. While it's uncertain whether all the new junglers Riot has been trying to shove into the jungle will be able to find their footing, this definitely won't hurt them, and our analysts are definitely going to keep a watchful eye to keep you all updated. By the way, if you're trying to learn a new jungler, feel free to talk to one of our coaches on ProGuides.com. Nonetheless, Death's Dance is still gaining traction across the jungle as well. This item is not just limited to top laners, and any champions that deal reasonable amounts of physical damage can take advantage of its versatile properties. Death's Dance provides damage, healing, cooldown reduction, armor, and magic resistances. These are stats that can be used by nearly every champion in the game, so it should come as no surprise that even champions that aren't bruisers can take advantage of Death's Dance. Vision control was, is, and always will be crucial to success on Summoner's Rift. While a lot of you may already be familiar with this combination, a lot of high elo junglers are opting for a combination of Umbral Glaive and Zombie Ward. Umbral Glaive acts as an extra sweeper, notifying players when they're near a ward. Once they clear them, they'll be able to take advantage of the Zombie Ward rune, clearing vision while simultaneously creating some of their own. Since these wards don't add on to the maximum ward limits, this allows junglers who opt to retain a yellow trinket to provide even more vision. For junglers that stick with sweepers, they'll instead be able to provide some vision for their team, in spite of the fact that they prioritize vision denial instead. Boots of Swiftness are also seeing more popularity in the jungle. These shoes aren't just popping with supports. Immobile junglers like Set love them as well. They're incredibly affordable, provide a decent amount of bonus movement speed, and the slow reduction definitely doesn't hurt either. Immobile champions love this item because it helps remedy their biggest weakness. With that said, let's move on to the mid lane next. Gone are the days of Luden's Echo, although not completely. The ever-growing new meta is shifting towards a combination of Phase Rush and Hextech GLP. Hextech GLP is cheaper than its counterpart while providing a similar set of stats. In several ways, it's superior to Luden's Echo, and when combined with Phase Rush, mid laners are much safer than before. Simply tag enemies with the slow from GLP, then use your abilities to activate Phase Rush, and then book it. Defensively, Luden's Echo doesn't provide any support, unless you consider killing your enemy an optimal kind of defense, which it honestly is, but that's not always an option as we know. Hextech GLP feels a lot safer and much more versatile. I suggest that all you guys give it a try on any champion that typically builds Ludens. We're also seeing a lot of marksmen come back to the mid lane. Although Corki is still chilling in the back, waiting for his glorious return in the future, picks like Lucian and Tristana are becoming much more prevalent. Especially next patch, with some massive buffs to Tristana hitting Summoner's Rift, it shouldn't come as a surprise if she takes the lane over altogether. At the beginning of the season, duo lane EXP was nerfed, while solo lane EXP was buffed. This should help more aggressive marksmen find success as they'll hit their level 6 power spikes more quickly. Once again, we're also seeing Death's Dance on mid laners as well. Some bruisers are seeing play in the mid lane. Picks like Wukong, Garen, and Renekton do just fine there as they have the kill pressure and tankiness to threaten a lot of different picks there. Simultaneously, some AD assassins are also taking advantage of this item for the incredible amount of sustain it provides. It also makes them a little bit tankier, and what's worse than an assassin is an assassin that manages to always survive with a sliver of health. Also, like we mentioned in our last episode, healing reduction is becoming much more common in the mid lane. Morellonomicon is indeed becoming a much more powerful purchase because of indirect changes to the game. Healing is so prevalent and powerful right now that dropping that extra gold to finish Morello's is actually worth it a lot more than it isn't. At the end of the day, this item isn't gold efficient, but neither is an Executioner's Calling. Healing reduction is costly, but at the very least, you're actually paying a little bit less for that particular passive when building it with Morello's. Morello's price tag is much heftier, but considering the value of stats, you're paying about 60 gold less for Grievous Wounds than with Executioner's Calling. Especially if you're laning against champions who heal a lot, this item is imperative to purchase. It's great against Bruiser, mid laners, Sylas, and even Katarina. With mid lane covered, let's transition into the bottom lane next. Bot laners are taking Exhaust. I repeat, bot laners are definitely taking Exhaust. Exhaust is becoming a much more valued summoner spell because it's so good against assassins and various divers. Sometimes your support needs to help the rest of your team. As much as we'd like it to be sometimes, it's not their job to always babysit their marksman. For times like those, it's nice when a marksman can fend for themselves by casting Exhaust on whoever is trying to single them out. With all this talk of healing reduction, it's no surprise that supports also want to run Ignite. It's a tough balancing act because both of those summoner spells are so good. But why take one when you could have both in the bottom lane? Not that Summoner Heal is bad, it's still a great summoner spell, especially since it can help out an ally as well as yourself. However, in games where players need some extra peel, as well as healing reduction, a bot laner taking Exhaust is definitely not something unheard of. In fact, this was already the norm since the conception of Yasuo bottom. Not many of them ran heal at all, instead opting to take either Exhaust or Teleport. You don't have to run Summoner Heal, but it'll definitely take some getting used to, so I'd suggest practicing before trying this in ranked. Hail of Blades is slowly dominating the bottom lane meta. Not every champion can use this, but the ones that can are using this much more often than before. Draven, Kalista, and Kai'Sa will take this keystone because of how much power it gives them in shorter trades. Winning trades then backing off immediately might take a little more time than going from 100 to 0 all in, but it's a reliable way to control lanes. You dish out as much damage as you can while minimizing how much you take. Do this a couple times and you'll be healthy while your opponents slowly find themselves living on borrowed time. These champions specifically benefit from Hail of Blades so well because of their abilities. Draven can throw out 2 empowered axes quickly, then back off. Kalista can quickly stack up her Rend, while Kai'Sa can almost instantly activate her passive. Next up, we want to reiterate that Nimbus Cloak and Gathering Storm is still the norm for secondary runes. However, the exception is those Hail of Blades users. When running Hail of Blades, players will instead opt for the Precision Tree, taking whatever runes they prefer from the pool of Triumph, Overheal, Presence of Mind, Legend, Bloodline, or even Coup de Grace. Gathering Storm is an easy shoo-in for marksmen. They want more AD, and they also scale incredibly well with it. If games drag out, it doesn't hurt at all to have even more AD, and this rune provides an incredible amount of gold value. At 30 minutes, for example, Gathering Storm provides a little more than 1,000 gold's worth of value. This rune is too good to pass up, while Nimbus Cloak provides both a safety net and some more aggressive versatility with the movement speed it provides. Usually, when a bot laner casts heal or flash, they're chasing an enemy down or running for their life. Awfully convenient if you ask me, since Nimbus Cloak provides support in both of these cases. Alright, let's wrap it all up with supports now. Marksmen aren't the only ones using Nimbus Cloak, supports are too, and that's why they lane together apparently. That's some bot lane synergy right there. Nimbus Cloak is great for the use of summoner spells, but also with Hex Flash. This combination is extremely underrated, mostly because of how rare it is. Champions that can utilize Omnistone, such as Set or Pyke, are great candidates for this, as they'll be able to take the inspiration and sorcery trees together. Nimbus Cloak activates with Hex Flash. This is something that goes unseen, quite literally, because no one is using this. The amount of kill pressure you can apply by constantly using Hex Flash with a burst of move speed as well is absolutely oppressive when ahead. The theme is movement speed today, so we've got to talk about Boots of Swiftness still. Support players have been making the transition from Boots of Mobility, and it looks like Boots of Swiftness isn't just another come-and-go trend, it's here to stay. Along with Boots of Swiftness, a lot of engaged supports that build them are also taking Gargoyle Stoneplate as well. It makes sense, as these are the supports that'll usually jump in headfirst anyway, so having that extra tankiness is going to help them out a lot, while costing them absolutely no damage, since they usually don't do too much anyway. Aside from Boots of Swiftness, supports are building other movement speed items to supplement their aspirations to become fast. Shrelia's Reverie on champions like Bard, Righteous Glory on champions like Blitzcrank, and Deadman's on champions like Set and Bard are extremely commonplace currently. When playing a champion with incredible lockdown, it's important to be able to pick off opponents who are mispositioned. Especially in solo queue, where one random pick can win you the game, these kinds of items are paramount. Alright, that's going to cover our 10.8 meta update for you guys. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like, comment, and also subscribe so that you can stay updated with all the different kinds of content we're releasing. Thanks for watching, guys. We here at ProGuides really appreciate it. Until next time, good luck on the Rift and happy grinding.